We appreciate you being here. I'm Brad Edwards here in Illinois and across the entire country. Captain Obvious statement. Many struggle with credit card debt, student loan debt, mortgage, debt of any kind. And there are companies out there able to help ease that burden. But new research from the Better Business Bureau shows some just aren't doing enough. Oftentimes, these companies are leaving people worse off than they were before. We wanted to know more about this, so to break it down for us, to help you advocate for yourself and to bring some insight, CEO and president of the BBB of Chicago and Northern Illinois, Steve Bernas. Steve, a several-time friend of the stream. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, Brad. Thanks for having me today.
All right, so this investigation, give me the big takeaways here.
Well, the investigation the BBB released is that basically these predatory lending companies, debt relief services, don't deliver what they promise. We've seen a pattern of complaints at the Better Business Bureau filed by these customers of theirs. We have 11,000 complaints filed last year and over 1,000 negative reviews, basically saying they're overstated on their promises and they don't deliver what they say they're going to deliver. And some of the consumers, unfortunately, as you mentioned, Brad, end up worse than when they started with them, which is very unfortunate.
And 1,000, that is a heck of a number, because I perused you guys' website. You've got a great up-to-date website. People can go there, see who's good, see who's been good, see who's kind of a naughty or nice list. And it also catches people at a real victim moment, because they're already down on their luck. So sometimes they don't do the research. They just call the first one they should, and it's not always what they should do. So, Steve, you're no stranger to scams, predatory practices by companies big and small. Did anything surprise you most about your findings in this particular investigation?
I think what surprises us the most is these consumers really believe these companies and that they would help them in some way. And unfortunately, they became a victim themselves of a scam or bad business, and it became worse for them. So it's really people down on their luck and actually made it worse for them for years. A lot of consumers have come to us, paying these companies thousands of dollars that they're working with their creditors, only to find out that they took the money themselves for their fees of their services instead of paying the consumer's creditors. So a lot of disheartening reviews of these complaints, and these people are all down on their luck. And I think the biggest concern we have is that these consumers don't check companies out, don't research these organizations. And that's probably my biggest frustration in my 36-year career at the Better Business Bureau. Consumers do all the work and investigation afterwards about the company when they've been scammed, only to find out they were a scam. If you should have done it before, check out those companies. There's many places, including the Better Business Bureau, to do some research. And Brad, if you can't find anything on a company, sometimes that's a sign too, because they could have just started that day.
Or they could have just changed names. And kind of the dastardly deed here too is sometimes they just skirt legality. So what they do isn't illegal per se. They can't be charged with anything. They're operating within the law. They're just not being good stewards. So if you are one of the millions of people struggling with debt, you got the knee of a credit card on your neck. How do you separate the good from the bad? What's the first thing you do beyond a Google?
Well, the first thing to do is actually contact the company itself, the person who holds the debt from you, and ask them if they can work with you on reducing the debt or fixing it in some way. A lot of time people don't contact the lenders. They hang up on the lenders, don't answer their calls. You should deal with them directly. And if you can't help, they can't help you, then find a company, a resolution company that can help you. There's a lot of great companies out there, but you've got to do the research on them, check with the Better Business Bureau, and go to our website and find out what questions you should ask and what you should look for in these types of companies. But finding information about them before doing business with them is critical, and make sure that any promises they guarantee you are in writing in some way. A lot of times, like you say, Brad, they skirt the laws. They promise everything on the phone, and then when it comes time with the complaint, we never said that. So anybody who promises you a quick fix, immediate fix, or erase your debt in some way easily, there's no such thing. It's a time you have to work at it time and time again. And there's great organizations that can do it, but there's scammers who will take advantage of the situation. And you just got to do your research and don't pick the first company you see on Google or in the phone book or whatever way, because those are sometimes not the best companies.
The only person who can immediately fix your debt is daddy, if you got one and they got money. I certainly don't. But that's great advice there. And one I hadn't thought of is call who you owe directly, because they want to be paid too, and they often will negotiate. Great advice there. So let's move to something kind of a little more urgent. Just yesterday, federal relief for local flood victims from those big downpours this summer just announced. And now you're warning victims to be on the lookout, because this type of money, this type of situation, people desperate again, this is ripe for something nefarious.
You're right, Brad. It is ripe for that, because it's going to happen. We've seen it time and time again, and even FEMA sent out an alert as well. When there's government money involved, the scammers will come out and pretend like they're government. They're the imposters, the scammers. They'll say, hey, we're sent by FEMA, or they call you up and they say they'll visit you because FEMA sent them. Basically, these are storm chasers, individuals who go around the country chasing storms in nefarious ways, as you mentioned, to try to take advantage of consumers. And especially when now there's government money involved, they're going to use that as a trick and a ploy to get you open your door, to sign these documents, to get them to repair your house, or turn over the check as well to them that you do receive. So be very careful with storm chasers. Anybody knocking on your door, you have to do the research on them with any organization, and you never do business with somebody you just meet, because you have to do your due diligence, Brad, as you know. You have to do the research, and you want to get 2 or 3 bids anyway, because you don't know. And opening up your door to somebody you don't know is not a good idea, because you have the fake utility workers as well that go from neighborhood to neighborhood, as we talked about for many years. And unfortunately, you got to do your homework on those companies.
Great advice. Steve Bernas, CEO and President of Chicago BBB in Northern Illinois. Thank you for being a friend of the stream and getting up with us. We appreciate you, Steve.
My pleasure. Thank you.